I think a lot of us are aware that the vast majority of people that play Apex Legends are on the roller, and while a lot of you have ambitions of being goated on the sticks, you need a little bit of a helping hand in guiding you that way. So hello everyone, I'm your hostess with the mostest, 8-Second Gaming. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down some insanely useful tips for controller players so that you can start punishing anyone who dares come your way. But these tips are one thing. If you're really looking to dive deep into Apex and learn all that you can to start climbing the ranks, you need to check out the GameLeap website right now. Over there we have top level coaches creating highly in-depth guides to make you the best Apex player that you could possibly be. It doesn't matter if you want to learn about the legends, the guns, or the finer details of Apex, the GameLeap website has you covered. So click the link in the description, pick yourself up a membership, or I'll tell your crush about the time that you peed your pants in 6th grade. That's right, I'm talking to you, Matthew. But now let's hop into the controller tips and start off with one quick thing. For the people that have come by my streams over on Twitch TV/8Second Gaming, you'll know that I'm not a controller player. So how then am I giving controller tips? Well, I reached out to friends who are all controller players at very high levels of the game, so rest assured that this video has grounds to stand on, and these tips are all coming from people that I trust. So let's start off with tip number 1, and one of the most annoying things that people have to deal with when playing controller is having to reload when sitting behind a door or in a teammate's knockdown shield. It messes a lot of people up because when they have to reload, they then go for a revive or open up the door and it gets them killed. So how do you deal with this? Well, a lot of people have tried changing their keybinds, or some just move away from the said thing that's stopping them, but you don't actually have to do that. The simplest way to deal with this is to just shoot the remaining bullets in your clip into the ground. When you are out of bullets, the game will automatically reload your gun for you. So by emptying your magazine, you will then have the game reload for you, and you don't have to worry about dealing with the hassle of the keybinds. This has saved a lot of my friends in tight situations. But now moving on to tip number 2, a big thing controller players need to be aware of is the fact that you can move while looting. Fair warning, this is more for quickly looting and not really helpful if you need to grab a lot from a death box, but for armor swapping in fights, you need to know this. As you approach a death box, start sprinting. Once you see the interact button pop up, hold it to open up the box, but don't stop moving. You'll be able to still run at full speed and loot the armor and not have to stand still while looting it. Because you're not standing still, you are a lot harder to hit, and this can save you in fights when being chased. But it does take some practice to get the timing down, so play around with it a little. Going forward with tip number 3, this is more focused on the movement side of Apex. A lot of controller players I see talk about how they can't do some of the movement techniques that mouse and keyboard players can do, and that simply isn't true. The only thing M&K players can do that roller can't is tap strafe, so let's talk about how to do a zipline super jump. This is a very important piece of movement tech that everyone should be aware of, because in certain fights it can help you out a ton in a bunch of different ways. So to learn this, jump into the firing range and put a Pathfinder zipline somewhere that's just basically on flat ground all the way. The best spot for this is just right in front of the dummies. Stand underneath it and press interact and then jump. For Xbox this would be XAA, for PlayStation it's square XX. You're going to have to get the timing down with it, but once you consistently do it standing still, start running under the zipline and doing it until you get the timing down while moving also. Once you're able to do that as well, try doing it off one of the vertical ziplines, and then get the timing with that, and there you have it, you're able to super jump on controller. Next to wall bouncing, this is probably one of the best basic movement techs to have down, so go practice this. But now we can move on to tip number 4, and this is more for the PC players. We all love using Discord. It's a great app that lets you communicate with friends and hang out, but sometimes you are forced to mute your microphone when playing. But if you're in a fight or a situation that you can't take your hand off your controller to mute, what do you do? Well, one option is to get a foot pedal, but there's an easier way. You can actually use the share button on your controller to mute on PC. All you have to do is go into your Discord settings, go to keybinds, you make an action toggle mute or push to mute, whatever you want, and then you can bind it to your controller controller. So next time you're getting yelled at by your mom for not showering, your friends don't have to hear it. You're welcome. But now for tip number 5, let's talk about the effective ranges that controller players want to be fighting in. The biggest weak spot for controller players by far is their long range. It is the hardest area for a lot of people to become better fighting in. Aim assist makes a lot of close range fights very consistent, so a ton of controller players just opt to rely on that, and that's perfectly fine, abuse it where you can. But there will be times where you are needing to bust out some long range fighting techniques, so stop neglecting the long range practice. This is something that a lot of controller players just forget to do or simply straight up ignore. When you're doing your warm up in the firing range, make sure to be picking up an assault rifle and working on spraying the targets that are further away. You will be able to learn the recoil for certain guns at longer distances and be able to be a lot more reliable on maximum ranges. If you take a look at any of the top controller players, they are always able to fight no matter the distance. So if you want to be more like them, you have to be able to fight at any range. By doing this, you will also be a lot more useful to your team and win a lot more games because of it. But now for tip number 6, this is do be aware that you don't have to run ALC. ALC or advanced look controls are a good way to really fine tune certain parts of your gameplay. But there are times that I personally, even as a mouse and keyboard player, go into someone's stream and see that their aim just looks really off. Then after doing some investigation, it turns out that they threw on a bunch of random ALC settings either their friend told them to use or one of their favorite pro player uses. Most of the time, if you check someone's stream and hit ! sensitivity or something along those lines, their ALC settings will pop up. So people just use what they use because they want aim like theirs. But the issue with that is ALC is fine-tuning your own personal controller and needs. Every controller has different issues and every player has different needs. So if you were to put on settings without really understanding what they do or how it will affect you, you can actually be hurting your aim and causing you to lose more games. If your controller has a ton of stick drift and you lower the dead zone, you're going to be affected by that. That is one example, but another one is kind of like if I were to tell people that I play 450 DPI and 1 point sensitivity in game as my settings. Those are what works for me personally and fit my needs as a player. You may need faster for movement or maybe slower for tracking. There is no magic one setting fits all when it comes to aim, so I don't understand why people treat it that way. If you're looking to really fine tune your aim and learn about ALC to build your own sensitivity to fit your needs, check out the controller settings video we did here on the GameLeap YouTube channel. That will have everything you need to fix your settings. It goes over literally everything for controllers. But going back to the original point, don't feel forced to use ALC. If you just use the regular settings and those work perfectly fine for you, then just use them. There's no real point to dive into ALC if you don't really understand them. It's kind of why I don't do per optic sensitivity in the game. It's better, yeah, but this works for me, so I don't even worry about it. But there are always going to be little tiny details of the game that you are able to learn. So if you guys enjoyed this video and did learn something new, please hit that like and subscribe button to stay up to date with the latest Apex Legends tips, tricks, and news. Thank you all for watching. Once again, I'm 8 Second Gaming, and I will see you in the next one.